Homeschooled kids are like plants. Let's get into it. By the end of this video, I will have shared a story and some tips about how our kids should be treated like little plants, what they need in order to thrive, and how we can come alongside them as parents to make sure that they have the best chance for success. We got out of the car at the same time, this mom with this young boy heading into the store. She grabs his hand and he starts skipping and dragging, the way that a 4-year-old would through a parking lot. And she says, "Look at the piles of snow." After a snow plow goes through and they leave the big piles, the snow's been gone for a week. But she says to her son, "Look at the piles of snow. What do you think that means?" And I walked through the store and I bumped into her a few times, or was close enough to overhear her a few times through this store, down various aisles. She was asking these amazing, simple questions of her son. "I'm looking for the code on the wall. Gosh, do you see a 497? And he would look and help. She would ask questions like, "Gosh, if we were going to make chocolate chip cookies, what kinds of things would we need?" And I stopped and I shared a little exchange with her. Her son was kind of twirling around, and I said, "Is that your only son?" And she's like, "No, I have 3. He's actually my oldest. So here he is 4 or 5. I said, "You know what, Mama? You're doing a great job. That parallel conversation that you're having, I think it's called side talk, self-talk, where she was narrating as she was walking through the store. Now I'm walking through this aisle and I'm looking for black beans. Gosh, I wonder where I would see black beans." Narrating. And then he was listening, sort of, but he would tune in with the tone of her voice if she was asking questions, and she would ask open-ended questions. "I wonder what I would need if I wanted this, or if I could use that." What a beautiful example of somebody that's headed to the journey of homeschooling with everything like foundation set. We had a little conversation in one of the aisles where I was asking her about her son. And I was saying something like, "Gosh, this is exactly how we homeschooled our boys." And she said, "Oh, we're thinking about homeschooling." And I said, "Do exactly what you're doing. Relationships first. And all of that self-talk, you're going to be so amazed at what your kids are going to learn." And she said, "This one taught me that." She's pointing to her son. How cool to have an inquisitive young child, but then how much more cool, how much better to have an attentive parent that was feeding into the curiosity, answering questions, not giving the answers, but actually asking the right kinds of questions. It's amazing what happens when your children feel seen, when they're a part of the journey with you, and when you ask them questions that require their brains to fire. So important that we raise our kids to be critical thinkers right from the time that they're little. And it starts right there in the kitchen. "I'm getting ready to wash the dishes. I better put all of the silverware here to soak because I noticed it's crusty. We should have washed the dishes last night, but we didn't, did we? Mm-mm. So if we soak them, they'll be easier to wash." Just by having that parallel conversation, that self-talk conversation with a little bit of, "Hey, I see you. Hey, I see you." Your kids feel validated, they feel seen, their critical skills, their critical thinking skills are inspired and stoked. And you get this, these are the types of things that are paid back in dividends as your kids are growing. I want to make sure that you grab the freebie that I have for you. It's in the descriptions or the bio, depending on where you're seeing this video. Homeschoolers, I talk to them all the time. All the time. It's fun at this stage of the journey to be able to share wisdom, tips, and tricks with homeschoolers that are way at the beginning of their journey, or in that frustrated patch right in the middle, when they're trying to do too much curriculum and not enough relationships. I'm here to tell you that once your kids learn to read, if you spend most of your time investing in the relationship between you and your child, and you chase curiosity, and you stay present, at least for a predetermined time during the day, you will get that back like compound interest. It is amazing what happens when you put relationships first. Do you need to push academics aside? Of course not. We want our kids to be able to read and to write and to communicate and to do at least their fundamental math so that they can function in life, right? But we don't need to be so focused on curriculum that we lose our kids along the way. I was looking at this plant before, and it's a fake plant, but if it was a real plant, now I'm only allowed to have fake plants because I'm a plant killer, but plants need water and sunshine and a little bit of fertilizer. But if you water the plant too quickly, you drown it. And if you put it in the dark, it dies. It can't do what it needs to do, photosynthesis, in order to create the sugar that it needs to survive. Our kids are exactly the same way. They need fertilizer, interesting things that cause them to be curious. They need water of love and kindness and attention. And they need to stay in the light. They need to be outside playing. They need to be just checked into life, not in a corner in the dark staring at a screen. Now, is screen time 100% bad? Of course not. However, if we lean into screens, especially when our kids are little, they don't develop the same way that they do if they have a much more experience-rich life. We just watched a movie about goodness gracious, a migrant farmer who his life mission, his life dream was to be an astronaut. And he spends decades working towards getting to be an astronaut. Beautiful movie. I will find the title again and link it in the descriptions below. One of his teachers, way back when he was little, he was a migrant farmer kid. So his family would work where the crops needed to be harvested, and then they would move and then harvest the next crop. Well, that teacher came to his parents and said, if you had a tree and every year you dug it up and transplanted it, what would happen? And there was this idea that the tree would possibly still survive, but it would be stunted. It wouldn't grow to its full potential, and it would not produce fruit the way it was supposed to. Our kids are the same way. They need light. They need fertilizer, interesting things to do. They need love and attention. And most importantly, they need you. If you spend most of your time investing into the relationships of your kids, especially when they're young, if you focus on maintaining and creating a good, solid routine and flow, you focus on heart and character and make sure that you are refining the things that need to be refined. The kids do not run wild when they're young. Oh, they might have a boundless pool of energy, but they're not allowed to just sit in a corner and watch a screen for 15 hours in a day. If you can rein in routine and foundations when the kids are little, and you invest in your relationships with them, and then you're doing all of those interesting things, reading books, learning to read, practicing how to communicate, and doing the self-talk and just hanging out with your kids, they are going to thrive in a way that you might not even be able to comprehend at this stage in the journey. Anyway, I want to invite you to grab the link to our Breaking the Chains of Curriculum guide. It's the first step towards us being able to come alongside you and help you in your homeschooling journey. My name is Bekki, and I will see you next time.